Hello, my name is Jim DeMeo, and this is A Course in Miracles. Today's lesson is number 86, which continues our review. Reviewing today lessons 71 and 72. 71. Only God's plan for salvation will work. If you understand what salvation is, this is obvious. Salvation is something that occurs sitting in your chair right now, riding in your car right now, sitting on a throne. It is when you are willing, that's all, to think that we are at one. As the ancients put it, an extension of God. Course in Miracles is not the first place, certainly, that has stated that in writing. It's been stated many times in many different forms, in many different ways of thinking. Different religions have stated it. This is the only plan that will work, of course, because it's the only idea of salvation that we're entertaining. We're not entertaining a dualistic view. It is senseless for me to search wildly about for salvation. I've seen it in many people and in many things. But when I reached for it, it was not there. I was mistaken about where it is. I was mistaken about what it is. I will undertake no more idle seeking. Certainly I was in the fearful childhood of dualism. Having been raised in that thought system, certainly searched for it there. Only God's plan for salvation will work, and I will rejoice because His plan can never fail. God's plan is simply waiting on your willingness to entertain the idea. You don't have to understand it. The understanding will be given to you if you're willing. If you're not willing, it's not time yet. That's what time is for. These are some suggested forms for applying the idea specifically. God's plan for salvation will save me from my perception of this. This is extremely good when you're having an argument with somebody. This is no exception in God's plan for my salvation. Maybe some setback that upsets you. Let me perceive this only in the light of God's plan for salvation. And we're reviewing lesson 72. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Understand what grievances are. It's not just being angry with someone. It's thinking that you're actually separate from someone. Holding grievances is an attempt to prove that God's plan for salvation will not work. Yet only His plan will work. By holding grievances, I'm therefore excluding my hope of salvation from my awareness. There, I don't need Him. That's an attempt to prove that God's plan for salvation will work. It's the illusion of thinking that now I'm comfortable, alone. Someone said to me, I'm very happy to live alone. No, not true. You're never alone. I would no longer defeat my own best interests in this insane way. I would accept God's plan for salvation and be happy. And the specific forms that we might apply this idea, I am choosing between misperception and salvation as I look on this. So one is exciting and anger producing and all kinds of conflict. There's even gratification that sometimes comes with it, or the peace and the joy that come in letting the Holy Spirit show you about it. If I see grounds for grievances in this, I will not see the grounds for my salvation. this is really true. You want to see the reason why you can hold a grievance against someone, how they did you wrong and all the rest of that stuff? Go for it. It's not going to give you the peace and joy of salvation. It'll just give you that tightness, that holding. I'm familiar with it. And finally, this calls for salvation, not attack. If we can just hold back, right? And think, that's all. Think. Hey, I'll think with you today.